Find the derivative of g of t equals the square root of t times the square root of t plus 2. Then evaluate g prime of 9. So g of t is the product of two functions, the square root of t and the square root of t plus 2. One option is the product rule, or we can directly take the product, which will be easier if it's possible, and it is possible here. I'm going to rewrite the square root of t to the first power as t to the first power over the square root, or 1 over 2. Likewise, in the parentheses, it'll be t to the 1 over 2 plus 2. And we can now distribute that t to the 1/2 in. The first term, t to the 1/2 times t to the 1/2, will be t to the, you add the exponents, 1/2 plus 1/2. And 1/2 plus 1/2 is 2 halves, or just 1. So this will be t plus 2t to the 1/2. So we now have terms that are adding or subtracting each other, and we can take the derivative of each of those individually and add or subtract them together. They're added here specifically. So let's take the derivative now. G prime of t equals the derivative of t. A t alone with a constant will just be the constant, so that'll be a 1. The next term we're going to use the power rule, so we're going to bring the 1/2 down, multiply it, and then subtract 1 from it, but let's call it 2 over 2 so it has a common denominator. So we have 1 plus 2 times 1/2. If you want, you can think that is 2 over 1. 2 over 1 times 1 over 2 is 2 over 2, or just a 1. And then we will have t raised to the 1 minus 2 negative 1/2. Since that term came out to a negative exponent, we're going to want to rewrite it by moving it to the denominator and calling it a positive exponent. It'll leave a 1 in the numerator. And one more thing, if we want, t to the 1/2 means the square root of t to the first power, so we can rewrite this as 1 plus 1 over the square root of t. The next thing is to evaluate g prime of 9, which means to plug a 9 in for all of the t's. So 1 plus 1 over the square root of 9. The square root of 9 is a 3, so 1 plus 1 over 3. The 1 can be multiplied by 3 over 3 to get a common denominator. And we will have 3 over 3 plus 1 over 3, which will give us 4 over 3.